Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where you look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Oh man, today's going to be an interesting show. What I'm going to do is I had a listener requested show based in the comments, and we're going to cover, that question first. And then we're going to move on. And for the time I have left, I'm going to just talk about teams, running your own heroclix team. Because we're getting closer to Worlds, and a lot of people may want to start just getting their stuff together so that they can sort of say, hey guys, we're the, the super rats, or like the flying squirrels, or something, whatever your team's going to be called, like the darkness in the mist or something. I don't know, whatever you want to call your team, to try to help you get ready for Origins, if you're going to go to Origins, or you're going to start up in the rock season, to get something together, because it all, like, I had a couple of conversations with people, and what really sucks right now is there aren't a lot of teams, quote unquote, running around, and most of them are in the Midwest and the South. And then I sort of point out, it's like, if you think on the West Coast, you really just have Majestics, like, not fronting. You just have Majestics right now. And on the East Coast, you have Pusheen, Rubicon, and Pusheen and 4 Points Gaming. Sorry. So, that's really it. So, the rest of the teams that are either in the Midwest or the South. So there you go. And I can say with my team is a little weird. I do have members on both coasts, but the core of Phoenix Nest is in the center of the country. So there you go. All right, so let's talk about Don't Die. We're going to start off with what is the core of Don't Die, and then we're going to go on to start looking at the pieces of it, and then we're going to look at how to dismantle Don't Die. Now, the problem with Don't Die in and of itself is because the game is based off of scoring, Don't Die should never exist in this game. It should never exist in this game. The problem just overall is the amount of effort one has to go to score minimal points with some of these pieces for the stats that they have is a little ridiculous. But with that being said, there are some elements that we can look at from Don't Die and extrapolate it to see why it works the way it does. So first off, the main core concept of Don't Die is, of course, having figures that are not easy to kill, that are able to get clicks of health back easily, or just mainly they don't have KO clicks, they have the countdown clicks. Okay. So a majority of Don't Die teams are led up by Dead Man and Resurrection Man, because those two figures just have countdown clicks. The problem is that just due to their point cost, you can't run a full team from Dead Man, Resurrection Man. In the past, you used to have Absorbing Man. Absorbing Man was in that same sort of category until the can't use stuff started popping up. And when the can't use stuff popped up, Absorbing Man was dead. Like he could not show his face again. Also, Agent 13 just screwed Absorbing Man so bad. Anyway, there's a joke there, but I'm not going there. So your main advantage with Don't Die is that you're trying to create a situation is that you want to be able to make your opponent try to spend an excessive, and I do mean an excessive amount of energy, trying to KO your pieces, while you, on the other hand, just sort of roll through and yep, I scored 80 points and I win. Don't Die is really hard to deal with when you have a single attacker. Like, a single attacker cannot deal with Don't Die hardly at all. And the main reason is that you get one figure off the board. The moment that you get that one figure off the board, you have to get the other figure off the board. Now you've got the other figure off the board and you're pushed. So by the time you clear, the first character that you KO'd is back. And the cycle starts all over again. So a single character attacker realistically is the worst thing that can be played technically right now, because Don't Die just says, yeah, you can't do enough attacks in a turn for you to actually, get everybody off the map. Okay? So that's an issue. So not only that, Don't Die usually has a follow-up mechanic, is that they're based around two resources right now. The two main resources that they're focused around is Pandora's Box, and the second is Supreme Intelligence. Supreme Intelligence, unfortunately, it's a little bit more like, hey, I play this with Joker, but at the other end of it, it's still stupid. It's still so stupid for what it does. Yeah. Now, I'll also sort of make a little caveat. Can't target can be lumped in with Don't Die. For one main reason is that, again, you have to have Pulse Wave on your team, or have the special condition or whatever it requires for them to be hit or whatever on your team. If you don't have those conditions, guess what? There's no way for that figure to die. And so once you realize that, it becomes a little bit more frustrating, just because does that mean that I must always have these elements on my team so that I can deal with Don't Die just in case it shows up? And it's like, well, yeah, because it's won a lot of events. You need to make sure you have the elements on here to KO the Don't Die stuff. So anyway, let's sort of take a step forward, and then let's look at the Pandora's Box real quick. In the Pandora's Box, the main problem with facing against the Don't Die team with Pandora's Box is that Pandora's Box, they just sit for 7 turns most of the time and just load up sins, because the Don't Die team knows that the full-on initiative is on the other side of the board. They have no reason to move out until they're ready. And when they move out, they're going to be +3 defense on average to whatever you do, minus Pulse Wave. Okay? Which, you might say, Dark Logos, that's not that scary. But when you start looking at the starting numbers for most of these characters, you'll start to realize, oh yeah, that can be a problem. For example, Deadman on his first starting click on either dial count is going to be a 20. Resurrection Man can be a 20 or a 19. Joker can be a 20. And Dupe can be a 21. And Mystique can be a 20. Now, I put Mystique in there because she was core for Don't Die for a specific period of time. There's going to be a lot of changes that require her to no longer be part of the meta anymore. I mean, for her to be part of the meta again. With Jakeem Thunders running around, she's waxed. She's straight waxed. But I'm bringing Mystique up because if you're playing at local meta, not everybody is running, Jakeem or, Apollo or whoever the heck it is, every tournament to Pulse Wave Mystique for 4 and then 4 again, and now Mystique's dead. That's not going down. And even still, there's things that you can do to sort of mitigate the pulse wave damage delivered to Mystique to still make her viable. So I'll touch on that maybe a little bit later. All right, so when we look at the first figure for Don't Die, we have to look at like the OG Don't Die. And the OG Don't Die started off with like Resurrection Man and Dupe. So let's look at Dupe first. Dupe is 4 clicks. And Dupe in his trait just says like no matter what attack you do, he takes at maximum 1 damage. Now he's taking 1 unavoidable damage, and the 1 unavoidable damage is from his trait. Now the key element here is from an attack. Okay. Poison, it's not an attack. Oh, I add, tokens on top of you, and I have an effect that just says you take damage equal to double the number of tokens on you. That's not an attack. Okay? So there's like squirrely stuff that you can do to kill Dupe. But it just requires it not to be an attack. Alright? He has the X-Men team ability, and he has Power Cosmic. So it means he can't be outwitted. And he has Indomitable. He's also tiny, and he flies. So Dupe is very mobile, but he is only 4 clicks. The main thing is, if you're running Dupe, you have to have 2 main elements. Number 1, you need to have Resman. Number 2, you need to have the Sloth Relic. Okay, now the reason why you have to have Resman is that, and I'll go to it in more in depth, is that Resman's a wild card so that you can X-Men heal up Dupe, and then he just sits there with Sloth, and then he clicks up 1 more, and so he can heal 2 per turn. So if you look at it, you can dogpile Dupe if you wanted to. If you really want to just throw all your attacks on it, Dupe can die. But when you start combining, Dupe with Pandora's Box in particular, it's really hard to kill Dupe. Because Sloth plus Energy Shield Deflection plus Combat Reflexes equals 1 tough little bugger, okay? You're talking about a 21 defense fully optimized. So again, you need like Pulse Wave, but again, he will only take 1 damage because his trait can't be ignored. Okay? So that's a huge thing. Okay? Also, Dupe has the ability to remove a resource or a relic assigned to an opposing character within 6 squares and assign it to another opposing character within 6 squares. So he can take away your Quinjet resource and assign it to a Pog. There you go. So he has that cool ability. So overall, like I said, you can dogpile Dupe, but again, you need to have somebody that's on your team that allows you to do that, or you just need a lot of attackers where their attacks do not count against your action total, or they give you more actions as they attack. And those types of figures are hard to find. All right, so there's that. All right, next let's look at Resurrection Man. Resurrection Man has this huge block of text where he rolls for powers and all that other jazz. Okay, he has a calculator team ability because why the heck not? Because that makes complete sense why Resurrection Man has a calculator team ability and he's not a villain. I don't know what happens in Justice Legion A in the future, but to say, that the calculator or the 18th descendant or 25th, inheritor of the calculator, insignia may be a good guy. I don't know. But if you figure, hey, there's bound to be a good DC hero wild card for you to use, Anyway, I digress. He's able to pick, powers according to his die, so he can end up with all sorts of random cool powers. So you can't ever depend on the powers that you're getting from Resman. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes they completely suck. But the main advantage of Resman is that 9 times out of 10, when you start with Resman, you want him to be supporty. He has very low damage numbers, very low attack numbers. All right, you want him to be supporty. So you want him to have poison, probability control, incapacitate, stuff like that. Things that you can use that doesn't require you to deal out damage. Like TK. You could TK a heavy at somebody and do damage. Okay, that's really what you want. You sort of want to get off the first half of his first click section onto his second click section onto the click on the second click, because now he's 10 attack, 16 defense, 4 damage, which makes him a lot scarier as a figure. Okay, but again, you tie him, you combine him with dupe. Now he has X-Men team ability, and then he starts healing dupe. That's why I was saying, like, if you make him more supporty, heck, if he even gets support, good luck healing dupe. I mean, good luck killing dupe, because that's not happening. Like, I'm just being real with you. It's just not happening. All right, so let's move on to Deadman. Deadman is by far one of the core characters that you see on 99.9% of Don't Die teams. And the main reason why Deadman is on 99.9% of Don't Die teams is that he offers consistent damage output and he's reasonable cost. At 107 points, he comes in with running shot, 10 attack for 3 clicks, then 9 clicks. 10 attack for 3 clicks, then 1 click for 9 on his first section. On the second section, he has 2 clicks of 10, 1 click of 11, and 1 click of 9. He has he has a total between both dials, 4 clicks of 3 damage and 4 clicks of 2 damage. But on both of his 2 damage sets, he's able to do increased damage amounts through other game effects. So overall, like, he's able to put out constant numbers. And that's why Deadman is on most teams. Also, he can sort of like navigate and float closer or away, from your opponent when he comes back in. And so that adds a whole new different element of advantages to think about when utilizing Deadman. His first power set allows him to get access to ranged attacks using the special power. So that's something that we really need to, you have to be mindful of, is that starting off, Deadman is a ranged attacker. Then he moves into being a melee attacker. You take him off that, he goes back to being a ranged attacker. So when you're playing against Deadman, you have to be mindful of which click and what type of situation are you in at that point in time. All right, moving on to the Joker. Now, this is Joker's Wild the Joker, the Ha-Ha Joker. And Ha-Ha Joker comes in at the lovely flavors of 30, 40, and 50 points. And how much you pay determines how many of the little Joker card tokens you get, and if he can, live or not. Now, Ha-Ha Joker suffers a lot of the same shortcomings that Resurrection Man has. He has low damage output. Okay, he has a wacky confection of colors and powers that can be advantageous, but a majority of the time they're really not. Unless you get lucky. Unless you get really lucky. Starting off with Outwit for 30 points, it's really good. Just functionally, just paying 30 points for Outwit is really, really, really good. And I don't think a lot of people understand what it takes to get an Outwit right now. How much you're just paying, to have Outwit. So even on a Don't Die team, the Joker is respectable. So you start looking at the dial and you start seeing like Running Shot, RCE, which doesn't work together. You see Plasticity and Poison, which does work together. You see Flurry, Combat Reflexes, which sort of works together. You see Charge and Precision Strike, which works together. You see Blaze Exploit, which works together. Okay? So these different elements sort of allow you to be really functionable while at the same time sort of making it appear random when it's really not. Not now that we know what the dials look like on the back of the card. It's not random at all. So Joker is able to take an insane amount of damage just primarily for the fact that he can just self-heal himself as not even a free action. It just happens. So Faust can't even lock him down and stop him from healing, which means that he can absorb, like 50-something damage in a turn. I mean, sorry, not a turn, in a game. Which is, like, ridiculous. Like, grade A ridiculous. And it makes him like a mega tank. And you're mainly looking at, like, 50 points. Some people, I've noticed this, there's two extremes. It's 30-point Joker or 50-point Joker. Like, 40-point Joker, that's some niceness there. But a lot of people just don't feel the same way. Joker, in most Don't Die teams, is looking to either A, be combined with Pandora's Box, or B, Supreme Intelligence. But Supreme Intelligence, by far, is the best play because it allows Joker to, early on, be a heavy utility piece for his team. And as the turns progress, you can do all sorts of other shenanigans with Joker that will allow you to spin the dial faster. Okay, now, the last figure is Mystique. Mystique comes from the Uncanny X-Men set, and Mystique has leadership, which really doesn't help you too much on a Don't Die team unless you're trying to combine Mystique, Deadman, and Joker, and then you have some other weird plan for your points that I just don't understand. Because, there is some other weird plan I just don't understand. So you have those two together. You have leadership. You have the ability to move and then force blast people. But the moment you attack is the moment you lose your shapeshifter token until you roll shape change again. So there's a lot to consider with Mystique. Number one is that she has the ability to call in like low point ID cards. Number two, she has a good advantage of repositioning characters into spots that they weren't initially planning on being at. Another thing that's really good in this current meta is that since she has improved movement, ignores characters, she can get around and like force blast BGA to the moon if she wanted to, which is a huge advantage when dealing with most of the Jakeem teams right now. The problem coming in is like you're dealing with most Jakeem teams is that running shot pulse wave is going to wreck her, and she's only 5 clicks deep, and that causes a lot of problems because that's really easy to one shot in today's meta. She doesn't have any defensive powers up front. She has willpower, but that's it. And so on her clicks 2 through 5, she has combat reflexes, but really it sucks because she doesn't have anything that's going to give her any, additional survivability. So overall, you're mainly looking at playing her with Pandora's Box. Okay. If you did do, I wouldn't put her on Supreme Intelligence team for one main reason is that if you did have to play Supreme Intelligence, you would either put it on her or Joker, which would most likely be Joker. But then the other thing is if you try to put it on her, you just gave your opponent 400 points because all that's going to happen is that Psychic Blast Supreme Intelligence and he's gone. And it's GG. Like literally GG. So anyway, those are our main Don't Die characters. And if we start looking at how they are in a composition, 9 times out of 10, Deadman and Resurrection Man are together. You can do Resurrection Man and Dupe with the Joker at full points. You can do Dupe and Mystique with, I think it's Deadman. I think you can do that. You can also sort of try, Resurrection Man, Dupe, and Mystique, but I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I just wouldn't recommend it. So overall, you can start to see some of the complications that show up. The next thing that I want to point out is, like, disassembling most of these teams. You need to be able to have multiple attackers, and you need to be able to have some sort of lockdown mechanic. Okay, you need multiple attackers, and you need lockdown mechanics. Now, some people might say, Dark Logos, why do I need a lockdown mechanic? Well, the main reason is that by the time you engage on them, they are playing clock games. Okay? So you need to say, all right, you sat there and turned up your Supreme Intelligence 7 clicks. Fine, I'm going to punish you for doing that by not allowing you to take action because I incapacitated you. Or, hey, you have Dupe back there chilling next to Resman. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to incapacitate Resman, and then I'm going to go ahead and charge Flurry on Dupe, and then, try to get somebody else to get one last shot. So then you're going to be like, well, he's just going to X-Men heal. Okay, now Resman is pushed, and then he's going to Sloth heal, which means Dupe didn't attack. You see what happened? So now I've locked down 2 characters, and he can only attack with Deadman. Okay, so right there you can start to see the problems that come in. If you're able to do any sort of action control, or if you just like, hey, I'm sitting next to you, Dupe, hey, I'm going to poison you. I'm going to poison you. I'm going to poison you. I'm going to hit you. And I'm going to poison you. Eventually, you pretty much stall out Dupe and force him to break away. You force Dupe to break away. Because if Dupe fails to break away, he's just going to keep taking poison. Alright, so then you're stuck having to invest points in an entity in Dupe to have the evolution of it. But if you come back to like Brimstone or whoever, like you get penetrating poison, then that's not going to help you. Okay? Alright, so the other element that you mainly need to keep in mind is that Don't Die does not do well against Rush. It does very poorly against Rush. And the main reason is that the team needs to set up. It takes a long time to set up. You have to look at Don't Die like Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Final. If you're able to get it out, then you win. It's like, okay, like, what am I going to do to fight this? But if you're able to disrupt it or take out the head of Exodia, it's done. I think it's the effing final. It's been a long time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. It's the effing final, but I do know it is the head of Exodia. Like, you only get one copy of the head of Exodia. But anyway, like I said, it's been a long time since I played Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like college. So, 15 years? That's a long time. That's a real long time. Anyway, so if you look at those elements, you're like, all right, cool, I just rush them. But you need to also be able to like land in a bunch of attacks. That's why like ID cards that summon in characters that like charge flurry, like Nightwing, Triathlon, Ronin. If you're able to bring in 200-point Wonder Woman, who else charge flurries? I don't know. There might be a Superman out there that charge flurries for all I know. Charge flurry, like that is the killer. It's so much of a killer to a Don't Die team, because now they're in a position that forces the opponent to actually seriously think about, do I try to heal or do I try to fight? And if your opponent knows that they're just going to get dropped with another charge flurry the next turn, or 4 to 5 attacks that next turn, then they're going to opt to heal, which means that they're not attacking you. Like, Don't Die looks like the supreme offense, but what it is, it's a heavy defense. Heavy defense. Because if it fails, then the game's over. Like, there's nothing for you to do. Okay, your opponent wins if you're playing Don't Die and you fail to put up a significant defense. Okay, so when you're dealing with the Joker and you're dealing with the Joker Don't Die teams, your main goal is to establish which type of Don't Die are they playing. Okay, if they're playing Pandora's Box Don't Die, some of what I'm saying is going to be harder to almost impossible to do. If they're playing Supreme Intelligence Don't Die, then you have to be smart about it, what I'm about to tell you. So what you need to do is to hit Joker for enough to get 10 points. Then you evac the hell out of that zone. Okay? Because if you notice, a couple of cool things. Number one, Dead Man does not have great movement. Dupe has decent movement. Okay? Joker doesn't have great movement. Mystique has okay movement. Alright? So, if the only one out of those lists that has really good movement is Dupe, what is Dupe doing? Resman has crappy movement on his damage dealing clicks, and when he's on his supporting clicks, he has a lot of movement, like 8, 7, 7, 6. It's not great, but it's still pretty good. All right, so when you start looking at that, these teams can't chase you down. These teams don't have a lot of range, but the concern is with Pandora's Box, they get all the sins out, unlock the box, then they can get the freaking third eye, mega beams, I'm Darkseid, no, I'm Darkseid, hey, no, wait, I'm Darkseid. Triple effect going on. So they're just blasting through walls. So an indoor map and putting up barrier and all that other stuff does not help you whatsoever. Okay? And that's a really huge problem. But again, your opponent has to roll that. They have a 50-50 chance of rolling that element. Alright. On the other end, if they're running Supreme Intelligence, you have to play them like, we got to beat them with technique. Like, you just have to beat them with technique. And that is, you score points off a Joker, or you're able to KO Dupe, you back the heck up. Alright? And you're hoping that their countdown click on the Supreme Intelligence is not past 10. Okay? You are hoping that their countdown is not past 10. If it's on 5, 6, 7, they don't have a chance. Because there's too many turns that have to pass by before Supreme Intelligence is even a viable option to pop out. Okay? You can take a natural, reasonable 2-minute turn and eat up more clock than they have. So let's just say you go in, KO something, and then they're on 10. Okay? And you just back the heck up. Alright? Your opponent makes a decision that takes 3 minutes. Alright? Boom. They're on 11. Alright? You sit there and just figure out what you're going to do. Take a 2-minute turn. Go back to your opponent. They clear or whatever in a quick, 15, 20 seconds. Now they're on a 12. Okay? They're on 12. They got to get to 19. By this point in time, 30 minutes should have passed in a round. Alright? So, like just doing basic math, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 clicks. Times 2, it's 14. You're looking at end of match very soon. That's just saying if all of those, just using your time for 2-minute turns, just using your time, you're going to win on time. And that's the problem with Don't Die. Don't Die is making a bet that they can utilize clock better than you can. If they fail to utilize clock better than you can, Don't Die can lose to roll off, and Don't Die can lose to just like losing some pieces or something. There's a bunch of different elements. If a Don't Die team, like for example, plays an entity, then you're opening yourself up to the Firestorm ID card so hard. So hard. It's ridiculous. Because now you're just like, oh yeah, Firestorm ID, perplex up the attack. Do I got any other perplexes? Perplex, use those. Alright, 0 damage attack. Score 25 points off you, homie. Drop ship, getting the heck up out of there. Getting the heck up out of there. There's no reason to stay. And the reason I'm just emphasizing that is Firestorm ID card is not easily accessible, but a lot of people underestimated it. For like, even from the inspiration standpoint, a lot of people underestimated that card. That card is Rick Jones' ID card, which is +1 attack, +1 damage. So it automatically was good from a buff perspective. And then add in what the prize support Firestorm can do. Yeah, you're definitely looking at a winner right there. Okay, so now you're running away from the Don't Die team. Okay, cool. What is the Don't Die team going to do? Track you down? Move heaven and earth to get to you? Yeah, it can try. It can really try. But realistically, it can't get there. Alright, and definitely if you're talking about using Supreme Intelligence, you have to be, lucky and utilize the sidestep clicks and all this other stuff, and then hopefully you're able to land an attack. But again, let's look at these ranges here. Dupe, 6. Deadman, with his special power, 6. Resman, 5. Joker, 4. Mystique, 4. Okay? So for you to land attacks, for any of these characters to land attacks with Supreme Intelligence to crank up the dial, and if you just decide to run away, the only two that could chase you down is Deadman on his first section and Dupe on his first top 2 clicks. That's really it. And that's not them cheetah speeding it. It's like you watching a bulldog run. It's fast. It's faster than a normal person, but it's not cheetah fast, and sure the hell isn't car fast. Okay? So that's what I'm saying is when you're looking at Pixie, Vanisher, Overcharge, with Overdrive producing the Overcharge. Hell, even the whatchamacallit, Quinjet, all those things have way more mobility just to get out of dodge. Okay, so you start factoring those things in, and you start to realize Don't Die has a lot of problems. The squirrel's been sitting outside just staring at me this entire time. It's a little strange. Okay. Anyway. So you can start to see when we're breaking down trying to fight this that it's not impossible to beat. It's not impossible to beat. But it requires you to just say, I've scored points, now I leave. You don't most Don't Die teams, and even after coaching people playing them, they don't ever just you know what, I'm going to go get in that fight there. Get everybody in that fight. You can protect Mystique by always just having someone nearby and limiting the lines of fire for Pulse Wave. You can always protect Mystique. But most people don't want to play that because that means that, I have to bring Mystique up with with Resurrection Man. Okay, that's not a problem. That's negative a problem. Okay. So, overall, do I still endorse Don't Die? Yeah, it's stupid. But it does have problems. It does have problems. And like I said, one of the key elements right now in the game is once you incorporate some sort of token control, indirect damage like poison or in-cap damage, you start incorporating or characters that do add a token plus deal damage, because those are still around, people. Those characters are still around, a la Black Lightning. Like, oh yeah, hey, incapacitate and take penetrating damage. Like Black Lightning. I know somebody's like, Dark Logos, you're still on Black History Month trip. But yeah, like Black Lightning is so dumb for what he does. He can target all 3 don't die characters, token all 3 of them up, okay, and then be like, all y'all take 1. And when they all take 1, he sits back and is like, oh, I have willpower. Y'all going to clear? I'm going to do this again. So if you decide at all to do any action, you're going to push or have 2 tokens on you. So then, all right, that stops you from doing certain things. And then you're just going to keep taking this 1 damage. And only one of you all can have Sloth. So, last thing, just note, the mind control trick doesn't work due to what WizKid said, so whoop-dicky-doo, that doesn't happen. But you do want to try a setup to put Resman and Deadman on their click 4, then go after, then have the next follow-up attack be from a character with 2 targets, then KO both Resman and Deadman, because you only just need to do 1 damage to each, and then just dogpile that anchor character. Like, just, you have 2 turns to just get, well, I'll take that back. You have your next turn, because they're going to click it on their turn. Yeah. So you have 1 turn just to like kill that anchor character, and that's why Mystique isn't on the list anymore. Like, there's too much Pulse Wave running around. All right, so let's go into making your own little HeroClix organization. So you listen to me on the show, and you're like, Dark Logos, I like Phoenix Nest stuff. I appreciate you talking about it, but I can't join your team because you're not recruiting. But I think I can make my own team. How can I do that going into this current year? And then I come back and say, it's like, well, sir, let me tell you how you, yes, you, person on the internet, can make your own HeroClix organization. It's like, first and foremost, you need to realize that a HeroClix organization is a lot of work. So if you don't have a lot of free time, or you don't have a lot of people on the same page, then you are going to rip out your hair. And that's why Dark Logos is bald, so that he doesn't have hair to rip out. Yes, because there's tons of things that just drive you nuts. There's no need for me to lie to y'all or BS y'all. Like, I have an 8-man team total. There's tons of things that just drive me crazy. Like, so much so that I can't handle it all. Like, Wes and KJ handles stuff, PJ handles other stuff, Dragon handles other stuff. Like, I don't handle it all anymore. When this all started, oh yeah, hand in every pot. Hand in every pot. Like, oh yeah, ooh, that's done. Ooh, not done. Okay, put that to the side. Ha ha. Like, I'm feeling good about myself. The more people, like, after last year's recruiting, I sort of realized, like, nope. Too many people. And then you look at it and it's like, man, am I like giving too much favor for this guy because his schedule lines up with mine, or this other person? Am I shunning them because of time zone differences and blah, blah, blah. So the first thing I'm going to recommend to anyone, do not do the Dark Logos experiment, or what you would call the Majestics East experiment, or Majestics Miami. Don't do that. We are established players, okay, with a network. Don't do that, okay? What I mainly would advise you to do is have a core group of players in your local area and decide what level are you all striving for. Now, if it's like 3 of you, it's real simple. Like that's a real simple deal. Because now you have enough players to compete in team events, and you can also sort of like go out and about and have your cool shirts, and your cost isn't that expensive. Speaking of shirts, I forgot to go and get those. Yeah, I forgot about that. I gotta remember that next Friday. I gotta remember that next Friday. Anyway, so what I was saying. All right. So you can have a small group of people. Now the thing about this is that like I do, and this is not insulting because I have my people that I play with locally. I look at my local team as like my junior league. Okay, like I help them out, and we like, hey, let's get together and travel. Let's do stuff. Let's make teams and practice. Okay, so I help them out, but I'm not like on them like I am my Phoenix Nest members. Okay, I'm not like, well, man, need to practice. What are you doing? Like, what's going on? You need this, you need that. Okay, blah blah blah. Coordinate with so and so at this period of time. All right, salute. Like, from a design perspective too. Like, I'm not on them about some things that I'm on, my Phoenix Nest members on. But at the same time, like, I travel with them, we hang out, we eat, we'll go to a random tournament, within a 4-hour radius, and just be like, ha, we're here. Sometimes I will take it like way more serious just for me personally, because I have things I have to achieve. Like when I went to Springfield, I was like, I need to get this qualification because I'm Dark Logo, son. But I still was like, I'm with Seth. Ha ha! We made top 4. Yay. So you have to have your mindset of like where you're going. Like, because there's some local guys that I play with that are really good players, but they're just like, nah, man, I don't want to do all this super competitive stuff. You don't want to cause a wedge between those guys. Now, if you also have what I call like the junior expansion division, okay, it's somewhere in between what Pat and I do, or even you could say Juggernaut, because Juggernaut has some guys that aren't in Little Rock. You have people that are within a reasonable driving distance, or within a certain area. So you could say like a 2-hour radius or whatever. Something that's reasonable to do in a day. Okay. So you have those people, and you pull from maybe multiple venues, and then you create your team. So now you're a semi-regional team. Now that's doable, but it requires a lot more logistical stuff than you might care to do starting off. But if you're one of those organizational people, there you go. Okay, so there's your first like basis of understanding what type of group are you. Are you a local group? Are you a semi-regional group? Or are you completely crazy and you want to make a national group? Okay, again, if you are bold and daring, just do it. Get that Shia LaBeouf little guy running across the screen. Just do it. Not tomorrow, today. Just do it. Yeah. Okay. So your next thing that you need to do is establish how much money are people committing. All right. I am fortunate in the team that I have a lot of people that are sort of like all in on heroclix, and they get a lot of stuff. Not everybody's in that situation. If for example, you have in your whole entire team of 5 people, you have 2 Jakeems, you can start to see how folks might start looking sideways. And if the 2 people with the Jakeem place well and get prize support, and the ones without the Jakeem feel like they're slighted and that they can't get access to good figures, there's drama. Now, have I ever experienced that personally? No. Have I seen that happen in play groups and other little, micro pseudo teams? Yes. it can be like envy and jealousy can be a bear and tear apart some of the best organizations. So you can't let that be a factor. So you need to have a reasonable economic pool that you're dealing with, but also know, like, hey, if you have a collector, you have a team of 5, you have 1 collector and 2 college students, and then 2 other average people. That ain't, your average amount of money that you're going to put into a set. You're probably going to come out with a 1.5 to a 1 to 1 3/4 of a set worth of figures. Okay, but if you're like, hey man, we're a bunch of college students and we like the game and we feel we're really good players, blah 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 blah, we're down. You need to look at like a half a set, or you all are, put your money together and buy 2 CURs, and then you have a community bank. And when someone gets out the game, they just understand that they walk away from the figures. Because you don't want that person to be like, man, I put my money in, I feel we should just sell everything, and then, we're going to come back and then I can get some of the money back, and I feel that I contributed, and that, I just don't feel like I should walk away with nothing because of all the work I put in, and I drove, you and Steve to, the Seattle event, and, I didn't ask for gas, like, no, none of that. Because that stuff comes up. I've seen it in other games. That leads me to sort of like my next point is have your charter. Have like what your like setup is. Okay? Just know what that is. All right. Now, the main reason I'm saying you need to know what your setup is because of this. All right. In Phoenix Nest, I'm going to be honest to tell y'all like how it rolls. All right, so here's the thing. Everybody comes in and they get basic training. Okay, I go over aggro, defense, and shenanigans. Doesn't matter who you are. Everybody gets basic training. Mainly because there might be something that's you never thought went through your mind, and that one thing out of the 6 hours I pour into you is worth it. Okay. Then everybody gets advanced training. Okay? Advanced training is a little bit less hands-off. Less hands-on. It's more hands-off. Yeah, there you go. I'm not fiddling around with you as much. Okay? After a period of your first year, you're halfway through your program. Once you're halfway through your program, then we go about like mastery stuff. Blah, 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 blah. What type of master are you? And I go through every person with that. Then we go from the second year is developing that skill set. Okay? And bringing out certain things to up that skill set. But once you're into your second year, you're looking at working with other people and being a little bit more involved with other team members and helping them get better. And then I have a certain amount, time I use to recruit and blah, blah, blah. Limited amount of people I recruit per year, even though this cycle it sort of got thrown off. And then certain people have certain responsibilities, and everybody either has a front end responsibility or a back end responsibility. A front end responsibility is team design, team theory, staying on top of the numbers and the new teams that are out there that are on and popping, keeping track of the common pulse of what people are thinking about in the meta. That's all your back end stuff. Your front end stuff is what is actually functionable. Is this team good? What are the restraints that it has? What are the tweaks that needs to be done? On the back end. So when you get to the end of the process, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like the fine tuning. And then once you're in tournament play, all right, hey, what's going on? Do you need this, that, or the other? What are you dealing with? What are the matchup adaptations that you need to deal with? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now, some folks might say, dark logos, that's a lot of work. And I would say, yes, it is a lot of work, but you are making a quote-unquote organization. Okay? And this is one of the core parts. is that I can look at the success of my team so far based off of a couple of core elements. Number one, from an organizational perspective, I pick people that work with the dream and the vision of the team. I just didn't be like, you're sort of famous. Do you want to be on my team? Tried that. That fails. That comes from a needy position. Number two, I don't pick people that I have personality conflicts with from a leadership perspective. There are several people that I know and like. Never would be on my team. Never be on Phoenix Nest. Okay? Because it's just the personality clashes, motivational clashes that would happen, that I would be like, I like you as a person, but I'm about to strangle you. Like, I just can't deal with this. All right? And you might be saying Dark Logos is high strung. But when you start looking at your time investment, then you'll start to be a little bit more ticky as well with the eyes and stuff. The next thing that I do is like anybody that doesn't believe in the dream, after being here for a while, you can leave. I'm not holding you hostage. You can leave. Everybody's still here. But you can leave. I won't hold it personal. And then for me in particular, I have a rule. Is this. This is like the fourth or fifth thing on your list in life. I don't want to hear like I missed my job because I went to go play heroclix. I have a marital problem because I'm always playing heroclix. I missed the birth of my child because I'm playing heroclix. I'm super sick, but I went to go to the super Q. Like I don't want to hear that. I'd rather you live and deal with real life stuff. Okay? So when that's resolved, come back to me. I'm not asking you to put the team above God and family and country and all that stuff. I'm not asking that. And I would say for anybody that would want the team to be first and foremost in people's lives, you might say that, but you really don't want that. You want people to be balanced people, because when you deal with psychologically imbalanced people or people that don't have proper social function, they're going to latch on to the team as it being their life. And anything that goes on with the destruction of that, with the disintegration of the team or stress in the team, they're going to take it more personally because they project the family needs and responsibilities that they would normally have onto the team. And so then they're not getting that need met in real life because they're neglecting real life. And so all of their emotional needs are being met from the team. And that leads to a lot of people that just have a lot of problems. I saw that playing MMOs. That you would see people that their entire self-worth as a person and all of their personal, significant, emotional relationships was all in the context of a game. And if you left that game, that was just like you were saying you were divorcing them as a person. So I'm just saying this is like, be mindful, like you might want to wish for one thing, but I'm telling you, you really don't want like half the things you wish for. The next thing you need to establish is, how much are we traveling? How much are we traveling? And what is reasonable travel? For my guys, there's only a few, and guys and gal. I have to adjust with that. Right now, there's only, like a handful of situations where I'm like, y'all don't need to go to that. But a majority of the time, most of my people can travel. And I ask them that up front. Like, look, I'm expecting you to travel to about 6 tournaments in a year. And out of those 6, you are going to Origins and you're going to Rocktober. Do you have a problem with that? Now, if you come back and it's like, but my job won't let me go to Origins, or my job won't let me go to Rocktober, then I'm like, cool, you need to adapt in these ways. So I'm looking for you to shift from a competitive weight to either going to other tournaments and competing, or shifting to a more administrative. That you're on it when it comes to the front end stuff, team design, looking at meta stuff, cranking out numbers, all that stuff. Or you are the best, field commander that I have. Okay, so if you're dealing with a person that's hyper intelligent and can't travel and can't quote what was it, Borderlands, it's like catch a ride. Sorry, I can't fully do it like it, but if you can't have a person that can catch a ride, then they need to do something else from an administrative perspective for them to be useful. Okay, and I'll use Aaron Cantu in Perspectives and Majestics. Aaron Cantu is a brilliant team builder, and you add that within Patrick's building philosophy, you're going to see some wacky stuff coming out from Pat. And some unusual stuff. You'll see some by the number stuff, but you're going to see some new creative stuff from Pat, I think, this year, and Kevin. And the main reason is that from looking at Pat over the last few years, Pat is a by the numbers guy. Definitely when it comes to attack values, damage values, range, reach, all this stuff, he's pretty much by the numbers. Aaron is one of those guys that can just tap into new ideas. And so when you start combining new ideas with efficiency, the two together can create some really wonderful teams. So Aaron can't travel a lot. I mean, between his job and family, and he has probably one of the... He actually, I think he does. He probably has the biggest heroclix podcast right now. Yeah, he probably has the biggest heroclix podcast right now. And so, because of that, he doesn't have a crap ton of time to travel. But, I figure, Pat adjusts for that with using Aaron in other ways. So, you need to know what roles people are going to play. Like for my team, I debrief all the time, after events, and that leads to the next thing. It's like have that moment on the way back from the venue after the event, or the day after, and just talk about the event and what you need to do better, and what went well. Like you have to look at both, and I learned that from chaplaincy. Definitely after my first night on call, where I went through PTSD. Like I literally went through, like I had so many calls that I went through PTSD, and I saw like a ton of stuff. Like I saw people die. Like I saw a lot of people die my first night on call as a chaplain, and this is not like TV. TV is crap. It's not like TV where you see people die. And anyway, so going on. I had this horrible experience that I went through, and I was sort of shaken, and I couldn't finish my shift. I had to call one of my family members who happened to have previously been a chaplain up there to cover the rest of my shift because I'm that shaken. And when I got back to class on that Monday, they asked me like, "Yo, why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you talk to anybody while you were dealing with this?" It was like, and the only thing I could go through my mind was, it's like, it was 3 a.m. I didn't want to call anybody. I didn't want to wake anybody up. But it was more than I could bear. And so I should have talked to, one of the administrators. But the same thing happens in tournaments. And that's why I feel like a lot of people that are casuals that go to a hardcore tournament and then get waxed really bad and go 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, or 1-4 or something like that, they go through something similar, except they don't have anyone to properly emotionally process the event with. So it's stress, it's trauma, but it just turns into toxic stress and trauma. Okay, that's real talk. And so having someone to debrief with allows you to exorcise some of the demons, exorcise some of the demons that come up after an event, whether it's that bastard slow played me, I hate him, to if I only rolled a 4, I just needed to roll a 4. Why couldn't I roll a 4? Like, seen it. And if you don't resolve those things, like
you'll have problems. And also, you get a second opinion on stuff and things that you didn't see. And so, like, I bet he probably won't get mad for me bringing this up, but my teammate KJ, there was a tournament that he went to. I think he was running Lex Luthor, the Lex Luthor team, and he called Wes, and because Wes was on call that weekend for the event. I do it, but I don't do it all the time. Okay, that's, I gotta stay sane. Okay, I don't do it all the time, but I do meddle. This is a situation I meddled afterward. That squirrel is getting crazy over here. Okay, anyway, so you hear this ding in the background. There's a squirrel that keeps coming up and looking at me and then running away and then climbing up the house and coming back down and looking at me. So, anyway, so what ends up happening is that, he's in, I think, top 4, and he's like, yeah, like, I did this, and this, and then it didn't connect with the ID card, and then I went in, and I attacked with Lex Luthor. And I was like, okay. And so he told me, he was like, that was my mistake. All I had to do was really just run away. I didn't have to attack with Lex Luthor the other turn because I was up on points and I didn't know it. And so he tells Wes that, and then I call him, and he realizes that he caused himself to lose that event. That he should have been in the finals and his team would have won in the finals. And when you realize, you sort of take that moment, and he said for a bit, he was arguing with Wes for a little bit, that he was looking at what his opponent was doing, and that his opponent sort of like slow played or blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And then when Wes said, like, no, dude, you could have won this. You just had to do blank. Then he sort of realized how he lost the match for himself. I have my teammates looking at my current games from WKO, and Wes came back to me, says, like, dude, I watched all your games the moment that they were able to come up, and the first thing that I looked at was, like, you should have been able to win all your games 4 turns earlier. You played your team way less aggressive than what it was. And I was like, no, man, my team is like this. And he's like, no, dude, your team's way more aggressive than what you give it credit for. And note, like, this is a team that, like, I made up with, like, him and I think KJ. And we were, like, going back and forth on stuff. But again, it's one of those things, like, he sees things from a very aggro perspective primarily. I look at things from a very defensive perspective. And from, like, I guess you could say from a timing perspective as well. But having those elements in the team to be able to debrief is essential. I have a luxury, and I really mean this as a luxury, with Phoenix Nest. I can pick skill sets that fit for my team. Like, there's certain skill sets that I need. So I can recruit those type of people. I say this for perspective, not to have the big head. Like, I'm like a NBA team drafting a player. Okay? You may not want to play for the Milwaukee Bucks, but you do want to be in the NBA. Real talk. Real talk. Like, you may want to be on the Lakers, aka Majestics, or, the Knicks, like Rubicon, or, the 1990s Bulls, which is 4 Points Gaming, or, try to, be on the up and coming guys and try to be on, like, one of the more established, like, Popovich teams, like Ragnarok being the San Antonio Spurs. Okay. You could try to be that, where it's like, well, play for Milwaukee Bucks. Well, welcome to Phoenix Nest. How you doing? And I'm sort of underselling it when I say the Milwaukee Bucks. And for anybody in Milwaukee, I don't mean to hate on your team. But actually, you know what? We're more like the Thunder. we're like the early years of the Thunder. I just don't know who's Kevin Durant is, right? Anyway, but anyway, you can start to see, like, I have that luxury, and you building a team, you're sort of just like, it's like pickup ball. It's like, well, let's see, do I pick between Big Mike or, Spry McGee? Daggone it, which one do I pick? And so, like, if you were in the NBA, it's like, I wouldn't pick Big Mike or Spry McGee. I'd pick somebody else. I can draft them. But with that being said, doesn't mean that you're not able to compete. Just understand that there is a lot of work. And trust me, I spend a lot of time looking over information that other people give me, and I talk to other teams and other team captains about how to better organize the team. I talk about the concerns about events and scheduling and all this other stuff. Like, I do all the general manager crap, and you have to have somebody that's willing to do that. Like, you legitimately have to have someone that's willing to do that, because if you don't, it all falls apart. There's too many logistics right now from a team perspective that you have to be mindful of. Like, one of the main things we have right now is like getting a hotel for Origins and the cost of the hotel per day, per person, and breaking that down. And then what type of vehicles do we need, and how many days, and when people are coming in and when people aren't coming in, when people are leaving, when people aren't leaving, how people are getting back home, blah, 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 all that stuff. How you going to get your swag back home. These are all logistic stuff that no one tells you up front. Like, this is like the real life stuff that you have to think about and know about if you're going to, come in here and have a really good time, but also be responsible about everything that you're doing. So yeah, there's all these elements, and then somebody's probably going to come back and say that I'm going to hate on Pusheen since I didn't give Pusheen the New York Knicks. But they can be the Detroit Pistons, which come to take that back, that probably piss Scott Crampton off. So you can be the Toronto Raptors. There you go. You can be the Toronto Raptors, Pusheen. There you go. All right, so that's today's show. I know there's a whole lot more that I could talk about. Organizing your team, making it better. Definitely from a personnel's perspective. Oh my gosh, that's a whole show. That's a whole show. But I've held y'all captive for over an hour. So you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, you gotta beware the space squirrels. Just let that sink in for a moment. All right. Anyway, you can see my random musings, and you can also find out when a new show is up on the Twitters, because it auto-notifies. Then you can also email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it Optimus Prime, baby. Tell me what y'all thinking about that new Deadpool set. I know I didn't do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set review, and if y'all want that, I'll do it. But I didn't see too much good from the set, so I've sort of just sat back. I know the Shredders are awesome, but other than that, it's like Leonardo, Chase, and Shredders. And I didn't see anything else that was just like, oh my gosh, that's game breaking. Ring the bell. Unlike Crane's, but yeah. Anyway, so email me about what you think about the Deadpools. You can donate to the show, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You can visit my lonely blog to donate and give me money. All the money goes towards making the show better. Way better. It might go towards computer parts. No lie here. in in the upcoming months. Gosh. And then if you want to buy a Starting Over Podcast t-shirt, you can get one from the link below in the description. You can also get a Phoenix Nest t-shirt if you want to as well. That's it. And again, thank you all for listening. I love your faces, and I'll see you next week. Okay, no, that's Philip DeFranco. Thanks for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.